Welcome back to another segment of Arizona Barrio Stories on Latino USA TV. We welcome you back because here at Latino USA TV, we bring in guests who are from our community, who are giving back to our community, and you get to hear about our culture, our language, our traditions through their eyes, through their lens, through a Chicano lens. And so today I'm very happy to introduce a young man, Representative Cesar Aguilar, who I've known for a while. His mom's a former educator. He was on a school board. He's here from Phoenix, and he's here to talk to you about the importance of getting out to vote, but also learning a little bit about his background. Welcome, Cesar.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit about your background and family, and then we'll get into how you were motivated to run for the state legislature.
Yeah, so I'm born and raised here in Phoenix. My parents are from Mexico. My mom's from Guadalajara. My dad's from Nayarit. And they actually met here in Arizona working at the swap meet when they were in 8th grade. My dad would sell tools. My mom would sell clothes. And then, me and my sister came to be years later. They had us very young. So I kind of grew up with my parents. And they had my sister at like 18, and then they had me a year later at 19. But yeah, born and raised here, grew up on the east side of Phoenix, on like 48th Street and McDowell, Thomas. And my mom grew up on that side of town too, and my dad grew up in South Phoenix on like 19th and Rozier.
Well, so that's like a Chicano love story, meeting at the swap meet, right?
Yep.
And that's really great. But they've produced a very important young man here. So what was your motivation to get an education, Cesar?
Yeah, I mean, my parents were hardworking people, and so they always instilled in us to make sure that we go to college. And I was able to go to NAU, and I actually wanted to be a history teacher. So I studied secondary education history. And then my sophomore year of college, I got super involved in politics with an organization called the Arizona Students Association. And we would go down to the Capitol, we would lobby legislators and tell them we need more funding in education. And that's when I actually changed my major and I went into political science and then history. And I just got sucked into it. And I really found like a niche in that. And I found out that we needed more people to get involved in politics when it came to education. We kept getting cut in funding for higher ed. We kept getting cut in K through 12. And so I got super involved in that. But even before that, I got involved in politics because of immigration. I grew up, around SB 1070, and I was in 5th grade when that happened. And then my freshman year of college, my dad, both my parents are permanent residents. They came in as undocumented, and then during Ronald Reagan, they were able to get amnesty.
Okay.
But when I was in high school, immigration actually showed up to my house to come and deport my dad. And my dad actually has a common name that a lot of people, like a lot of Latinos have. So later on, went through that whole process. And I kept seeing immigration deport my friends, my family, and it just, upset me because we were all feeling, fear in the state of Arizona.
Right.
And the attorney that actually helped my dad with all that stuff actually ran for Congress. And so that was the first time I got involved. His name was Jose Peñalosa. And now he's an immigration judge, which is crazy to look back on it. But that was like the first time I got involved. And I was a kid, so I couldn't vote. I couldn't, I didn't have money. So I knew I could knock doors and help people that were fighting for my community get elected. And so that's how I got super, super involved.
Well, that's really a great story because I know that many of our DACA and undocumented families that are here, they don't turn around the negative into a positive, and you've done that. Your dad was deported. I know my grandfather was deported here in Arizona in the 40s.
Well, my dad wasn't deported, but it almost got
deported. Yeah. Okay, well, I clarify. Okay, but I think for many of our families, I think it's good for our audience to understand the impact it has on families, and for many of our colleagues, right, it beat them down. I know my friends were beat down from it, but then we have strong people like Cesar. So let's talk about the former bill HRC 2060 that is now Proposition 314, and what you're doing and many others. We want to highlight Aliento Poder, Lucha, and many other organizations that are standing up. And Lydia Guzman also, a great shout out to her, has got the Barrio the Valle del Sol Award, and so we want to congratulate her. But tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I lived through SB 1070, so I remember all that time. I was in 5th grade when that was going on, and I remember all the high school students were walking out.
Right.
I remember my own parents took us out of school, and we went to that huge march that happened. And so I remember the sentiment that we felt during those times, and it just, my immigration story would happen to our community. It just felt like we were reliving our trauma that we had all gone through. I thought that we had defeated this 15 years ago, and then here we are again having to fight it all over again. The really cool thing about this year was we have some really, really good legislators, man. I always tell people, I have Oscar in the front, I have Lorena in the back, I have Annalise Ortiz in the side, and there really is like a camaraderie of us in there, and like we all get up and fought back, and we did what we could in the state ledge, but it was time to activate people on the outside, and we worked really closely with Lucha and ACE and all the other organizations. We built a coalition. We had meetings from people who led these fights, years ago, to bring them back in the room. And we were having meetings at the UFCW office, and we started talking strategy and how we can fight this.
And thank you for saying that, as strategies on how to fight this, because you're a little bit unique. You brought the lowriders to the legislature to try to get a bill to allow cruising again, right? So congratulations on that. But also you were with a car club, Jimmy and the Intruders, one of the oldest car clubs in Arizona, and you did Get Out the Vote. So we're changing stereotypes as you're doing those events, because let's face it, a lot of the general public, they're kind of scared, and the lowrider community are just peaceful residential activities, part of one of our cultural icons that is very dear and near to that community. So tell me a little bit about that Get Out the Vote that you did. And then I also love this flyers that you're handing out here. Cruise to the polls, and then this Thursday you're having an activity in Yuma, which is called Voten con sus botas, I think.
So, con botas,
that's creative, but it's culturally ours. So hopefully that will help get out the vote. Tell us about those, Cesar.
I mean, lowriding, cruising, it's all connected to stereotyping and the criminalizing our culture. But also I like to tell people too, especially who don't know about cruising, is that and lowriding, it's Mexican American, it's Chicano, it's American culture.
Right.
Veterans came back from the war. A lot of them were mechanics, and they came back and they started modifying their own cars. And they wanted to show their art, so they painted it, they put hydraulics, they made it a symbol of what they are, and that's American, and we don't get recognized for that. So, as more of us Latinos are getting elected into office, I want us to be embraced. I want our culture to be embraced, because we are from here. Just because the history books and our school doesn't teach that, I want us to be able to change that narrative. And so, I've been working with a lot of the car clubs like Jimmy, and Jimmy's been awesome. There's a lot of things that even he wants to do, and one of the first things we did was the cruise to the Capitol. We got the hot rods together with the lowriders, and it was the first ever cruise to the Capitol.
Wow, that's amazing. That's great.
Yeah, and even Jimmy has taught me a lot of history of like the hot rod and lowrider community were very segregated. You didn't mix those two together. And so even for him, he was like, it's a big deal to have this event where both of us are coming together, and we're able to do it at our Arizona State Capitol. So we had like over 300 cars. We went from what was the park downtown? One of the parks on 19th Ave, Encanto Park, and then we went from Encanto to the Capitol.
Yeah, it got quite a bit of publicity, and especially I like that you made that point about the hot rods and the lowriders coming together for a common cause at the state legislature and trying to get the vote out. Because let's face it, our community has to get out the vote, and we have to get other communities that support us to get out the vote. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I mean, I represent Legislative District 26, and a lot of the people that are in that district are my age, 30 to 20s, and a lot of them don't vote. And so I'm trying to change that narrative of we need to get out to vote. We're being impacted by this on everything, from criminal justice to immigration to education. But I mean, I do have hope. I think this year our community will come out, and I think more of us Latinos are getting elected, and more of what we want to see will end up happening. And I tell the lowrider community this all the time. They sometimes people will criticize me and be like, what you're just trying to politicize this. And I told them, I know how you feel, and I know the hostility. Like, politics has never been friendly to our community, so I get it. So as more of us are getting elected, our culture is going to be represented now, and we're here to change, what we would like the state to look like.
Now, in order to flip the legislature, how many more, let's say, moderate individuals or Democrats do we need to get? How many seats do we need to get?
So Democrats are 29 and Republicans are 31. And so Latinos, we actually have the majority if we all work together and put a Latino agenda. But I think after this year, we definitely will add some more Latinos this election.
Now, there used to be a Hispanic caucus of the state legislature. I know I worked with that way back in the day when I was a superintendent. Working on education issues with them. And so I know that there is currently one. So we'd like to encourage all of our legislators to really work within that system, because it has been very effective in the past in changing legislation and bringing moderate individuals into the group. And I can't overemphasize the art of compromise, right?
Oh yeah, I've had to learn that.
I think you had to learn that the very hard way, but I got to give you credit to stand up in front of your peers and apologize to someone for a comment that you made. That took a lot of guts, but it talks to the honesty of you as a state legislator. You're here for the right reasons. So in closing, what would you like to say to our public and the individuals out there?
Yeah, I think just, get more involved in your local elections. Just because, we have the presidential this year, but just because, you might not agree with the two top tickets, there's so much more, from propositions to your city council, to your state legislators, to school boards, and every single one of them is more important. And so just make sure to vote this year. Register to vote if you haven't. October 7th is the deadline, which is next week.
Next week.
And then after that, right after the ballots drop. And so we're almost done. And I would definitely like a better makeup of the legislature, so make sure to vote.
Okay, so thank you so much, Cesar. Again, here we have a role model. Family suffered with the immigration issues like many of our families. He's now in the state legislature getting out the vote. So if we can get our viewers to do anything, is take your nana, take your tia, take your perros, take them all out to vote, just like you take them all to a wedding or a baptism, okay? We really need our community to get engaged. And then go to your neighbors. They may not be Latino, but they'll support our cause. So thank you so much for being here, Cesar. This is Dr. Jose Leyba, Latino USA TV. Arizona Barrio Stories, San Diego Barrio Stories, and next month we're launching LA Boulevard News and LA Barrio Stories. Muchas gracias. Until the next time, until we meet again. Thank you.
Thank you.